Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sunnyside podcast. Today, I am joined by Mr. Dennis Cow. He is the founder of a company called Correlatio. Very interesting gentleman inside of the MSP space. I'm going to let Dennis introduce himself. Dennis, how are we doing?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Thank you for coming on. Well, I can't wait to unpack everything today. Would you mind giving the audience a little bit of a summary about yourself, Dennis, please?
I've been a MSP owner or been in the technology business for many years now. First started in the technology business as a computer system, gaming system builder back in the late 1990s, early
Yeah.
2000s. And since then, I have been involved in several different technology businesses and have exited multiple different technology businesses as well. With the most recent one is an MSP I have owned since I was 19 years old. So
Really? Oh, I didn't know you owned it for that long. So can we talk a little bit about kind of what the other technology were they all MSPs or was they all slightly different?
yeah, so as I mentioned, the first one that I was involved in was more of a value-added reseller. We were building gaming machines. That was kind of the origin of the company when I was in college. We all wanted to get together and play video games. So
Of
that
course.
was sort of the reason why I started building computers. And then one thing led to the other. I continued to build computers for other college kids. So graduated college, still had the business, went to college full time and also ran a business full time. And then decided to transition more into hardware business to do hardware sales and services on that. So that was the very first company that I exited was more of a hardware VAR, value-added reseller business.
Nice, makes sense. So, and then let's talk more recent times then. So you've just exited an MSP, or not just, but recently exited an MSP. How did you find that process? Was it as expected?
Yeah, so the most recent MSP that I have exited was my 12th exit. So I
Really?
have done it quite a few times prior to that. So it was not too difficult, as in that we already prepped to exit the business. There was a lot of work that went in way before we were having conversation with the buyer who seeked us out. So it was not too difficult for us. We signed the LOI, and within 3 months we were sold, and then within 6 months
Nice.
we fully transitioned all of our clients over to them, including our vendors and all the assets.
Well, that sounds like quite a smooth process. Can I ask, when you say exit ready, what does that actually mean? What when you are getting a business ready to sell, what are you actually doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I view selling a business no different than selling a house. If you do your homework and understand where you get the most value out of selling your house, it's very similar to a business where you have to get certain things straight and also understand where the value is and what the buyer are looking for. Also, you might want to consider the type of buyer. If they're buying in as a strategic or they're buying in as an expansion into their territory for other strategic reasons. Those are all the things that you might want to consider on who your buyer would be, and then you approach the right buyer. When you do that, the story becomes a lot easier. The number matches up greatly, and you get to provide. I mean, you provide better transition to them to sell. But I always tell a business owner that really understand your books, understand where your strength of your company is, and really, really clean up a lot of things that's in the books when you're going through that process. Because if the numbers doesn't match up when they do the due diligence, it's only going to make the whole entire process longer. And they will continue to ask more and more questions. And the more questions they ask, the more uncomfortable you are, the more
Yeah.
uncomfortable you are, the more things that you have to share. And when the story doesn't line up, eventually that's how the deal usually falls apart, right? So,
Interesting.
um, yeah, so I equate it more like selling a house. You just have to get your house ready to sell. If your house is a mess when you go and sell it, it's going to take that whole process much longer. but and the price is probably lower. But if you present a beautiful house and you have taken into consideration of all the things that really matter to the market and to the buyer, then that transition will be much smoother.
That's a great analogy, and I appreciate you sharing that. We're going to get onto Correlatio in a second, but while we're touching on the MSP and the one you exited, what are a few things? I mean, I don't know if you can pinpoint one or maybe a handful of things that you see as someone who has exited an MSP. What are you seeing that MSP owners are getting wrong inside of their business, and what are they really slipping up on, or are they missing the mark somewhere? Do you think?
Yeah, so I believe that it all depends on what size of MSP you're trying to sell. Obviously, if you're in a range of $1 to $5 million, it is very different than the business that's in the 5 million and above. I sometimes do think that value is a little higher than that. And why I say there's a huge difference. Typically, when you're $1 to $5 million, you're very much a founder-led company. You're still founder-led sales. The founder is still wearing multiple hats within your business and within the business. If you get past the 5 million, 6 million to $10 million mark, typically there's a structure there and things gets a little bit easier. The founder is not as tied to the business. The founder responsibility as far as client relationship is not all tied to the founder, if you will. So that's the biggest thing I would always tell people who seek advice from me on selling and the MSP is understanding where you are in that cycle, whether you're founder-led or you have more structure. That said, I also believe that when you're founder-led, you tend to run a lot of things through the company as a founder, right? For tax purpose reasons or for a lot of different reasons. It really is important for you to separate yourself from the business as much as you can because you don't want the value or you as the value of the company, if that makes sense, right?
That's interesting.
And yeah, and the third thing I think is contracts. Having really, really good contract paper ready. I see a lot of founders of 1 to 5 million that their contract vehicles with the clients are not very tight. And what that means is that when you go sell a company, a handshake, it's not worth the value of what a contract would say, right? Would be. So remember, the buyer is buying the company for long-term strategy. They're not looking for short-term, right? So your value heavily depends on the type of contract that you have with your customer. So when we sold the business, as an example, 85% of our revenue was on 3-year recurring contracts.
Really?
So yeah, and 85% of our total revenue, not value, but total revenue was 3-year contracts with clients. And we're also very focused on 2 or 3 industries. So we're very good at the local government industry. We're also very big in the insurance and the accounting service industry. And then we also have manufacturing as one of our other industries. So those were the 3 different industries that we have a lot of clientele in, and they all have 3-year contract. So when you have a 3-year contract that is repeatable, that has good paper, it's much easier for the buyer to figure out what your ROI
Yeah.
is.
Which makes sense.
Business, right? It makes sense, right? And lastly, I would just say that your vendor contract is also very important. If you know that you're about to sell your business, don't put yourself in a position where you have a long-term vendor contract with any of your vendors. I would negotiate, year-to-year term or maybe month-to-month, giving you the same price. If you're in business long enough, you should have good vendor relationship. And those contracts become really important because a lot of time buyer who want to buy you may want you to, go to their new contract or add you in as part of their portfolio to their existing contract. So if you have a long-term contract here and it's on a different technology stack in the current buyer, they have to take that into consideration of how much longer it would be to transition and get out of that other contract, which makes it even more harder for them, right? So now they have to start thinking about ROI on those type of scenario too. So the last thing I will always say to tell people is think as if you're a buyer. If you're buying a business today, what would you want to see and what would you not want to see? How would the return on investment for you be if you are buying your business? And a lot of time I would ask the seller, I was like, well, if you're a buyer today, would you buy your business? And of course, they always say, yeah, I will buy my business, but okay, well, how much would you pay for it? So, looking at it from
Yeah.
that perspective may help you, be better at or have a smoother transition, if you will, and
A
success and
few
stuff.
of a few of the points you made there, I feel like a lot of people you actually wouldn't even think about, especially like the vendor contract length and stuff like that. But I've got a few questions on that. For one, how important to you is actually niching down as an MSP? Like, is that actually something that you've got to do? You said you had three main verticals. Do you think that is detrimental to your success, or do you think you can get away with being a bit more scattergun?
Well, the buyers like to be predictive, right? They like to see what they're buying. Obviously, it's no different than if you're buying a house or buying a car. You want to buy the car that you want to buy when you make the
Yeah,
deal, right? You don't want to buy in a car and then 3 months later you have to replace the engine. Then 2 months later you have to replace the transmission. You want to buy a car exactly how it was described to you and prescribed to you as you are making that final contract or signing, right, at the time of signing. Um, it's to me, vendor industry is really important. You don't want one customer that represents 65% or 40% of your revenue because there's a lot of risk, especially in the $1 to $5 million companies. If you have one customer that represents a huge part of your revenue stream, then that's a huge risk to the buyer because if that one customer leaves, then 80% or 35% of what they pay for is
it's
down the
done.
tube,
Yeah.
right? But if you're too diversified, then you're kind of jack of all trade and you're not master and good of anything. So it's also very important to make sure that you're really really good at those industry that you're in and that you can back that up. So for example, our claim was, hey, we know the local government very well. Most of our clients when we sold has been with our company for 7+ years. In fact, five of our top 10 clients has been with our company for 15+ years.
That's
So
an
that
impressive
gives
number. Yeah.
a lot of goodwill towards a buyer that, oh, these customers are going to stick as long as there's not too many changes in leadership or too many drastic changes. These customers will be able to stick and allow them to fully transition over to whatever the new company's visions and values are that's buying you, if you will.
That's interesting. And I wonder if there is, obviously, as a buyer, I wonder how much they actually do come and rock the boat and change things. So it'll be interesting to see. Another question that I have on that is like if I'm a still doing founder led sales and I'm still very much founder driven, maybe like the 3 million mark. What are the steps that need to be taken to remove yourself from the business and like, basically do what you said? What if you could give some action items to people? What would they be?
So I would say to the founder led that if they really want to start stepping away and start really scaling their business so that their name is not tied to the business or their brand is not tied to the business, is to be intentional in what you do. I believe that a lot of founders want to have a lot of control, which is nothing wrong with that. But make sure that whatever you have in your head is also written down so it's repeatable and scalable to the people that's coming in. So you can still, and that's the way that you will have control, right? And what I found is a lot of founders, they kind of got into business because they are good at what they do, but they do not put anything on paper, so they have all the knowledge in their head. And when a new person comes in to the business, the onboarding process, because there's no SOP to follow, the new person coming in, it's going to take a lot longer to onboard, a lot longer to take over, right, and build that relationship with the client. So often what the founder will say is like, wow, this is taking way too long. I don't have time to babysit the person. I don't have time to do this. But you really have to invest the time in being intentional about passing that torch on to somebody else, one person or another team member. I would always say the team is the best way to approach, right? Because business owner don't want or buyers don't want all of their value encapsulated into one person, one or two people. They want it to a team. That's what they're buying. They're buying the SOP, they're buying a team. So that would be one thing I would say, is to be really intentional and disciplined about doing that. And two is really create a team around you. Create a team around you that you can trust. Yes, they are going to make mistakes. Yes, it's going to cost you money. Yes, it's going to be very unpleasant sometimes to have some deep conversation. And you may fire more people or let go more people than you would during that process to find the right person. But once you get there, you as a founder, your life will be much easier and your business will be much more scalable. And that's what buyers are looking for, right? Buyers not looking to buy something for $2 million and keep it $2 million for the next 3 years. They want to be able to build that to $3 million, $4 million to $5 million, and so on and so forth.
That makes sense. So it all starts from documenting and processes and SOPs. Is that what you think is the biggest thing?
I would say the biggest thing is sitting down, yes, document, but also be intentional about what you're documenting and how you replicate yourself. Interestingly, I'm working with a person right now in our AI services, and that is the biggest thing we see in AI, right? And getting AI is all the data is very scattered. So if you don't have all the data points and you don't have all the SOP in place, then how are you able to make that knowledge available to the next person so they can take it over easy, right? And that's what you should need to create to have that, scope of work and streamline all of it basically.
Yeah, I feel like that is very very valuable for anybody listening. All right, now the moment we've been waiting for, Dennis. Tell me about Correlatio then. Tell me what your new venture is about, the mission, and what you guys are up to, please.
Yeah, so at the core Correlatio, we're a data science company. And what better way to use AI as your delivery mechanism for data science company, right? So as an MSP, prior MSP, we set on a lot of data. We collect a lot of data from various clients, but we don't ever use that data effectively to our advantage. And what I mean by that is to really understand the customers and also drive revenue growth using that data point. Company like Amazon, IBM, Coca-Cola, the big companies, they have a team of data science. They have a team of data set that they have curated through the years to be able to. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why.
That's right.
I turn Do Not Disturb on and it's doing this. I don't know why.
No,
I'll go back.
Right,
So
no worries.
I'll go back so you can cut easier. Yeah, so we have a team of, bigger company have a team of data scientists, and they also have a system where they have curated a lot of data and structure a lot of data points, if you will. But small business owner don't have that luxury. So the whole idea was, how can we bring technology to the mid to small size company to leverage all the data they can to help them drive revenue growth, right? And to make business insight and business decisions. So that's really the foundation of our company and why we exist. That's our purpose, is to help MSP use AI and its data point to drive business decisions and drive revenue growth.
Okay, that makes sense. Could we try and make it more tangible for the viewers? Like in what sense, how do they use the data to drive revenue growth? Like, how are they actually doing it, Dennis?
Yeah, so as an MSP, for example, or any
Yes.
business, small businesses, you have a lot of data from customer service all the way to sales activity, all the way to just product data altogether, right? And most of the time in today's world, everybody have an AI of something. Every system you have an AI, but the AI is only focused on the data set that's provided within that system. So the ticketing system or the customer service system, the information that's in that system may not be relevant to the same information that's in the sales system, the Salesforce, right, the HubSpot, but or even the marketing data that's sort of curated within those systems. But if we combine the two data point, if a person asks AI question and say, hey, what was the top 5 things that this customer has purchased from us in the last 12 months, and out of those top 5 things, how many of them came back for support? You need the information from the customer service system as well as the sales system in order to generate that response, right? And that's what we have done is we're able to use our system and connect to multiple systems to be able to bring more context and more data back in to give the customer or the user a better response. And which in this case, it would be more context and less hallucination, if you will.
Okay, so then the outcome from that is that you will know what your kind of client, where, so if I'm an MSP, I'd know what we could potentially upsell them on, basically.
Correct, yeah. I would say that if you look at the journey of going back to any customer service related professional business, right, and using MSP as an example, if you have tickets coming in, the technicians will be working on a ticket to help their clients out as a customer service, right? But that information doesn't get pulled over to the salesperson side. The salesperson will physically have to go into the ticketing system and read the tickets, understand what has happened, and really get a synopsis of what's going on. And remember, it's not just one ticketing system. There's the antivirus system. There's tons of other systems that an MSP will use to help customers manage their system, right? So instead of having to, for the salesperson have to go and look for this data, the salesperson can now ask the question, and depends on if you're a salesperson or a business person or a tech person, it's the same data set, it just responds differently because we understand that, oh, you're in sales, so you're looking for upsell, cross-sell opportunity versus if you're a business owner, you're looking for more business insight on a customer insight or a particular customer data set about something, right?
That makes sense.
Business decisions, yeah.
So as a founder, even if I'm not necessarily involved in the sales, it will still allow me to make a smarter, more educated decision based off of the data. Is that another outcome of it?
Yes, correct. Yes, a business
Right,
owner,
okay.
you should be able to pull data from all sources of your system and take all the single source of truth from each system, merge it together, and have AI to continue to learn those data sets so that when you ask the question, it will give you the business insight from all the systems combined rather than just the business insight from one system. And most of the time, a lot of AI systems today, when you ask certain things that's outside its bound or outside its data set, for example, like in Salesforce, unless it's somehow connected to another system, very rarely does it even pull the data in to give you the information. It will make something up. And that's what we all know AI is really good at, right? In the absence of good data, clean data, and understanding of the data set between the two systems, AI will hallucinate, AI will drift. And
Absolutely.
that's why we have AI hallucination, AI drift in the industry.
No, that's really good. So could you give us some tangible examples of like what you could upsell your existing client base on like what actually could you upsell them on?
Yeah, great question. So this morning, we had a client who we were doing some work with, and they were testing the system out. They're a brand new client, and one of the prompts that the business owner asked, I thought was really interesting, was, "Can you give me the top 5 issues of our top 10 clients? Common issue." And AI spit it, Skya, which is the engine, which is our engine, her name is Skya, spit it out and said, oh, well, these are the customer with the top 5 issues, these how many tickets are in there, and each ticket is approximately this many hours to deal with, and based on all this information, here are the top 3 recommendations I would give you so that you can reduce the amount of ticket counts with your clients or issues that you can actually make some money off on, right? And one of the things that highlighted was that you have a lot of client asking to reset username and password within the Microsoft Office 365 system. So it recommended the Microsoft governance package. So the business owner asked, well, based on that, what are the SKU numbers and the scope of work that's needed to put together this bundle? Like what type of technology do we need? What's the SKU number? And Skya put it all together for him. Gave him the SKU number that is you get from Microsoft. What is the cost that's being sold in the marketplace. And if you buy this package, this is what's included. And based on what's included, these are all the things that it will address for you. And then this is what the scope of work would be. And these are the opportunity for you to upsell them on also future projects. So because we are using the customer's data set from not just last month, we're using the data set from over 37,000 tickets they have and another 6,000 CRM customers, and I think about 50-some thousand CRM entries. We're able to extrapolate where that MSP can help the customer with based on the sentiment of all the tickets and stuff like that.
It's super valuable, isn't it, for an MSP? Why do you think MSP owners are why are they not capitalizing on the amount of money that's still that's on the table? Is it just purely for the fact that they don't know that they could get more up their existing customer base, or why do you think that is?
Well, there's quite a few headwinds for us as an AI company. Obviously, there's a lot of data governance issue. MSP do have a lot of data, do collect a lot of data, but they also have a high bar to set for data governance issue, right? You don't want to leak that data out to ChatGPT or Claude or something like that, where now it has the general knowledge and you don't know where that data is set. So data governance issue is a huge problem. But I also think that there's a lot of trust issues among AI tools that's out there today. There's so many AI tools that's out there today, and I think as good as vibe coding is and what Claude is doing, it also brings opportunity for a lot of people who are building products that just don't see the whole picture, doesn't have a lot of things in mind. So a lot of regular what developers will go through when they're developing something, right? And so there's been a lot of tools that comes on the market that created a lot of false promises, I believe. So there's some of that too. And I think lastly is just the MSP taking time. I do think that MSPs of certain revenue size, again, going back to what our original conversation was talking about, is that their co-founder, they do everything. They wear hats for many things in their business. And we're always working in the business and not at the business. And I do believe that will be changing, though, in the near future, right? Because I think MSPs are seeing that they have to change. And I think the fourth thing is MSP in general are still very transactional in nature. The way that they deal with their business, the way that they deal with ticketing, the way they deal with a lot of things they do are still very one versus one, very transactional in nature. A ticket comes in, I solve the ticket problem, I move on. The next ticket comes in, I solve the ticket problem, I move on. Unless a customer calls in and there's a problem, or unless the sales is not coming through, or unless you're losing money, rarely do they sit down and say, hey, let me look at the business as a whole and see where I can sort of take my business to the next level. And some do, but a lot of them don't do that. They just work in the business every day. So I think those are all the reasons why there's a lot of headwind in what we have going on right now. But I do believe that will change. I think that they're seeing that, and if you go to a lot of conferences, you're hearing a lot about how do you monetize your data, how do you do different things with your data. And I guess the other thing I can add is that data itself is just not all created equal, right? A lot of MSP are not coders. They're not developers. Data is tough. How do you take what's in one system and another system, and when you merge the two together, know that in this system you call it a screw, in this system you call it a nut, but it's the same thing. It's the same customer. And how do you orchestrate this data to come together too?
How have you found actually bringing Correlatio to the marketplace? Has it been easy to sell and for people to try it? Or I'm quite curious to see how receptive MSPs have been.
It's a lot less slower than I would expect it, but I think that is normal. Just because I used it myself in my MSP prior to exit, and I've been in MSP for a long time, doesn't always mean that other people will see it understanding what it is. So it's been a little tough. The adaptation of it is a little bit less, slower than I would expect it. But on the flip side, it's also a good thing. MSP systems are not very easy to deal with. The ticketing system, the integration is not very good. So that's also good for our dev team where they're able to really slow the process down a little bit and provide good quality service and product to our client once they're onboarded, right? So it's been fine. For one thing that you don't think is going so well, it has advantage in other areas too, right? So
100%. So how long has this been the main focus now for?
So I used it in my MSP. We've been developing it for 18 months prior to my exit. So I exited last July. So we're now going
Oh,
on
so wow.
2 years, yeah, of total development. But we just started beta testing last August with publicly to clients, and we're actually already had a soft launch here on April 1 and converted some of our clients that's on a waiting list to work out all the bugs and kinks. But May 4th, Star Wars Day, as we call it here in the office, May the 4th be with you, is our public go live launch date.
Nice. Congratulations. That must feel good.
It does. It does. But it's also how I say this, very scary,
Yeah.
because now you have an influx of people coming in, and how are you going to be able to overcome some of the challenges and some of the things that they might find that might not work, or some of the things they have to troubleshoot, and how the system will handle it, right? So there's still a lot of little things that we're doing to streamline some of the process and optimize some of the things on the back end, for sure.
But from your perspective, you think it's ready to go for May 4th? You think that it's going to be good? You feel like you're there?
Yeah, as I said, we had our soft launch on April 1,
Yeah.
and we had some hiccup, but that was mostly on the front end of it. The back end, we haven't had any real hiccup. We converted, out of 82 people on a waiting list, we converted 15.
Nice.
That was our first 15 we want to convert just to test things out. And, we didn't have much of big issues, but we did get a lot of feature requests and say, hey, I wish you can do this. I wish you can do that. So internally, we're now talking about having a professional service team to help customize some of those things for a feature outside the box that we just currently do not do right now, because each MSP do have their own individual workflows, and we want to make sure that they can maximize the use of Skya, right? So we're definitely looking at spinning up a team to do professional service to help them with customizations and such.
Nice. I mean, it sounds very exciting. It'd be nice if we could have another catch up in another year or 6 months time and get you back on here and see how it's all gone, because I feel like you're about to. It's about to begin for you, isn't it?
It's about to begin, I believe. Yeah, we have some great integration partners. Through my 26 years of experience with the MSP, we have a lot of good, goodwill with vendors. So a lot of them have signed on to integrate, and when we integrate with them, because the way that we are connected to their data sets, we really understand the system data schema and where the data lives and what does the data mean in this particular system versus what it means in this other system. So we can be that middle ground that synthesizes the data from both systems, if you will, right? And know when you're calling for this, it pulls certain things up, right? And so they have been wonderful to work with. I just got back from an event where they hosted for almost 100 MSPs, and we were mentioned as one of their integration partners. And afterwards, we had a bunch of people coming up to ask us about, Correlatio, Skya, and it's been great. So, we feel really good about it.
Exciting. Well, listen, Dennis. I mean, if the audience are watching, thinking, I want to learn a little bit more about Correlatio, where can they find Correlatio? Where can they find yourself?
Yeah, so our website is www.correlatio, that's correlatio.io, so correlatio.io. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Dennis, and last name's Gao, Kao. But you're more welcome to go on correlatio.io to book a demo if you're interested in it, and just to take a look at it. And also provide us feedback. I think that's what we like. Even if you're not going to be our customer, at least try it out and provide some feedback. Let us know what we have done right. Let us know where we have missed. And if we can make it better and earn your business, we certainly would love to do that. But we welcome you to take a look at it, and test it out yourself.
Nice, Dennis. Well, I appreciate you coming on. You've definitely filled me in. I've learnt a lot, and it's great to see kind of what you've got going on at Correlatio and the vision you've got. So, again, thank you very much, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries, sir.